Worldwide Sound. TalkTainmentRadio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
On top of the good morning here in the United States, I guess that's what we call it. From here and around the world, welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go, the world's greatest radio. And you are in touch with the best hour in Internet radio history. And that is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. And this is radio the way it should be heard. We want to start off by saying thank you for those who did our Compensathon. I have some information that I have to read concerning that. Thank you for all of that. And remember this, starting next week, and tell all of your friends, starting next week, we will be having a 2-hour program from 9 a.m. until 11. The concept has expanded thanks to your wants and your desires, your donations. And Neely Fuller and yours truly will be doing that, and we are happy to do that. But we have to get this information out to you. Let me read this. Wait a minute, where is it? Here it is. Okay, listen. I understand that we are just a little bit short on the donations, some things that had to be made, and we still need you to support that. So for those of you who want to make donations, and some people have asked me, so here's the information. For those who want to do it by mail, you can go to the letter K and the letter E, World Network, LLC, doing business as Talktainment Radio. You can mail it to Talktainment Radio, 462 Walnut Street, Post Office Box 6184, Columbus, Ohio, 43206. That's important for those of you who want to do that. Now, with those of you who do that, this is real important. Since deductions are tax deductible, when you send in your email address so that we can send you that form, that's very important for your tax information, and you send that to Dozier at TalkTainmentRadio.com. That's the letter E, and then Dozier at TalkTainmentRadio.com, and he will get the information out to you so that it can be properly categorized for the IRS. Okay, now, starting June 1st, we're going to have the 2-hour program. So we haven't met our goal as of yet. I think we need 3,200, so we're getting close, but I understand we're about 67% of the way there, so we still need your help. Now, all you have to do is to go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com, click on the sponsor, follow the directions to make your pledge, and then that'll be done with, okay? All righty, so we'll get that out of the way. I'll have to do that a couple of times during this program. Thank you to Amina in Philadelphia, Farid in Silver Springs, Maryland, Brian in Pittsburgh, California, Anita and Larry contribute, Angela and Pamela. Thank you very much in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for donations. I don't care how small they are or how large they are. Thank you for your donations. I think that's all the information that I have to give out. Okay, now let me introduce to some and present to others. He's a mentor of mine. I made him my mentor, but a very good man. His name is Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and he is on the line. Mr. Fuller, from Mr. Bobby, good morning, and how are you today?
Good morning, and I'm still learning.
All righty. And on that note, you're still learning. What do you have to share with us today before we get into today's programming?
Well, I want to say something that I was reading the paper just a few minutes ago, one of the morning's papers here.
Yes, sir.
In Washington, D.C., and there's an article, a huge article, on people fleeing Somalia, a place called Somalia in North Africa. And they are fleeing there because of tribal conflicts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, without a lot of details being given in a very long article about what the tribal conflicts are about. But there are these tribal conflicts among people of color all over the world. They go on all the time. Much fighting. Nobody doing much work, but everybody's doing a lot of fighting and finding reasons to fight about, but nothing being done of any constructive value. And these are most of the reports that I get wherever you find people of color. The darker the people, the more fighting there's going on. And so the usual suspects, I believe, are always behind that. That's the white supremacists of the known universe. So I was thinking about keeping the discussion about things like that all in simple language. Now, the people flee to places where they are. People are fleeing all over the world. They're going and they're getting into rickety boats and whatnot and taking their families, got their babies in their arms and little bags and suitcases and whatnot, whatever they can scrounge around, sometimes just an old blanket with all of their possessions wrapped up in it, and it's on their shoulders, and they go for thousands of miles sometimes across desert lands, and have to put up with robbers and thieves and whatnot, have to put up with animals sometimes, I imagine, in some places, attacking them at night. And finally they get to some water, and they will hire somebody or try to bribe somebody or try to beg somebody to take them across the water to get away from the fighting. So they are running from a lot of fighting and what they call poverty and distress. Then it comes down to number two. We've covered what they're running from, because they're running. They're trying to get away from something. And so they're running from something, trying to run to something. Now, what is the something that all of these people are trying to run to? Two things, according to what they themselves say. Jobs, because they don't have any. They don't have any way of making a living, what they call it. And that's jobs, number one. And number two, schools. Running from fighting and running to jobs and schools. These are the two things that they're running to. Okay? Now, so that raises a question. Now, we all know what a job is. Any kind of way that you have of bringing in income so that you can have food, clothing, shelter, whatever else, transportation. Usually these are the basics. And medical care, what you call the four big ones. Schools, education, shelter, and transportation and medical care. Now, so it comes down to what exactly is a school? Now, these are people that are sometimes drowning in an ocean, trying to get where? Trying to get to a school. They want to learn something. They want to put something inside their heads. Along with putting food in their bodies, they want to put something inside their heads. So it comes down to a big question, a real important question, since people are making all these sacrifices to get to it, going thousands of miles to get to it. What is a school? What is this school that they're trying to get to? that they're making all these sacrifices for? Well, a school is made up of what? Every school I ever walked into, what they called a school, or somebody pointed to a building and say, there is a school. So when I walk in that building, what I see is chairs and tables. And last but not least, for sure, the one thing that is important in a school, books. So then I'm thinking, now all of these people are dying by the thousands and whatnot, trying to get to some books. Let's look at it now. They're doing all this dying to get to some books. And I'm thinking of all the books that they pass by trying to get to the place where the books are. And they're passing by books. Books are everywhere. Books are everywhere. But they are dying. Great sacrifices to try to get to a school, a place called a school. Even in a whole big city, you're looking for, I want to go to school. I want to go to school. Almost talking over and over again like a zombie. I want to go to school. I have sacrificed my whole family. I lost my brothers. I lost my sister. I lost my children. They drowned so that I could go to a school. Well, what is it that's in a school? Raise that question again. This is very important. You have a teacher and some books. And even if you notice, the teacher is always looking at a book. That's what the teacher does. Sits there behind a desk and looks at a book. And if you ask the teacher, how did the teacher get to be a teacher? Said, well, I went and talked to people who had read some books. And they told me what was in the books. And then they taught me how to look at the same books they were looking at. And then I started looking in the books that they were looking at, and I learned the things that they learned from the books, and then I became a teacher of things that were in the books. It's a very simple formula.
Yes, sir.
Just for a thought now.
Just for a thought.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I just want to say one extra thing.
Okay.
That place that we have in most places in the Northwestern Hemisphere, in a house, we have what we call traditionally a living room. Now, you have a kitchen, you have bedrooms, you have a bathroom, you might have a recreation room down in the basement or something. But most places, when you buy in a house and whatnot, one thing you'll ask is, where is the living room? Now, that's the room for living. I don't know what the other rooms are for. I mean, basically, I guess, you wouldn't call them living rooms because they don't call them that. But that's the room that you live in. But what do you mean by living? And I say that for black people, that room should be called the Ingenuity room. Why? Because black people need a lot of ingenuity. Now, what is ingenuity? It's a school, getting back to that word again, where you learn how to do things that need doing. And that's when, rather than sit around in that particular room that we call a living room, just looking at ball games and talking about scores and yelling at a television set, I mean, baseball, football, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and assembling there for that purpose, or to just sit around making small talk, which is the tradition. Small talk, we call it that. We call it small talk. Why not make each and every one of those so-called living rooms an ingenuity room, where you come and make that room a school? Well, once you walk into that room, you start thinking, how can I solve problems? How can I come up with a new idea for a business? And if I talk to anybody in this room, it's all about business, all about business. You don't come into this room unless you're going to be talking about business. And I gave it that term just in a compensatory way, ingenuity room.
Ingenuity
room.
Okay.
Not a living room, not a place to hang out on a Saturday morning or on a Sunday night, but an ingenuity room where you brainstorm, where you bring books and you talk to people only about how to start a business or how to improve something or how to solve some type of problem, because mostly it's about solving problems, not just about gossiping about problems, but about solving the problems that you're talking about.
I see. I can tell you spent a great deal of time thinking about that. Okay, Talktainment Radio is a 24/7 no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility that have hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here's one I would like to share with you, and it's simply Crossing Cultures. And I think it follows this show. Isn't that right, Galen? Yeah, it's good, and it is going to be live, isn't it, today? All righty. Crossing Cultures. Now listen, host Julia Lynn Walker has great conversation regarding the diaspora. Now, if you're interested in knowing your history, Julianne talks about that and more with great guests. Now, tune into Crossing Cultures every Wednesday, broadcast exclusively and live here on TalkTainmentRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. And it's going to do live today, right after our show. So, yeah, you might want to do that and ask some questions for Julia Lynn. Okay. The phone lines are going to be open now, so you can begin to call at 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. And, of course, your question will go into the question rotation, and when it comes up, then I will have Neely Fuller address your question. Okay, do we have a call? No? Okay. All right, Mr. Fuller, I have a Gmail from Brother Jay. He says this, Mr. Fuller, in the Black conscious community, we have some brothers and sisters who study the works of yourself and Dr. Welsing, literally warring with each other right now over rumor and innuendo on Facebook and YouTube. Now, for me, Mr. Fuller, I couldn't imagine yourself, Dr. Welsing, John Henry Clark, and Dick Gregory cussing each other out and having your followers do likewise in a public forum. But this is exactly what we see, Mr. Fuller, and it's creating chaos and confusion, something you often tell us to avoid. So my question to you, Mr. Fuller, is how can those of us who are practitioners of the principles you've written avoid allowing our egos, immature behavior, a sense of self-importance, and jealousy from interfering in the ultimate goal of unifying and staying on course so we can work toward dismantling the system of white supremacy? I thank you, Mr. Fuller, for your time, and thank you for this question.
Well, if you're talking about conflict between non-white people, that's a standard that goes with the territory. But you can control or minimize that conflict by, first of all, having an agreement based on, first of all, the 10 stops. Pick out some of the 10 stops. No name calling. No discourtesy. That's an absolute. That's not an option. You can't be discourteous, and you can't name call anybody. You can disagree with points of view, but you cannot curse. That's one of the 10 stops on page 49 of the textbook. If they're talking about what to do about things, is right there in the textbook, right there in a book. I just finished talking about books. Lots of things are in books. If you're talking about what Neely Fuller has written in a book, you have the book right there discussing what's in the book, but you're brushing right past what's in the book. It's in the book on page 49.
I'm looking at it.
These are 10 basic stops. And some of them say things like what? No name calling. You never call anybody a name. I don't care, a white person, a black person, never call anybody a name except the name that the person wants to be called. Ever, ever, ever. Ask the person, what is the name you want to be called? And the person says, my name is Alice. Person says, my name is Johnny. My name is Farah. Whatever. Call the person by the name that the person wants to be called. That's not an option. That's an absolute. If you're going to get anywhere near where we're supposed to be saying that we're going, no name calling, ever. Suppose somebody calls you a name. That's in the book, too. Let them call you whatever name they want to call you. That minimizes conflict. Just say, whatever name you want to call me, that's okay. But let's go on and discuss what we're going to discuss. I told you what my name was, but if you want to call me something else, feel free to do so. But we'll continue doing business the way we do business. And it's up to you whether or not you want to call me that name that you have chosen for me or not. Because I've already told you what my name is, and I don't need to go over that again. So just call me whatever you think will work. But I will call you at all times by the name that you want to be called. I will never, 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 never deviate not 1 inch from that. Another thing is courtesy. Now, what is courtesy? Well, it's allowing the other person to give their point of view, and when they finish, say, well, that's your point of view. Now, will you allow me to give mine? And if the person gives permission, because you're talking to the person, to give your point of view, then you give that point of view. But no name calling. Talk about what you're talking about. It's not personal, it's business. That's the whole code ideology. You're united not with each other. You're not trying to get unity with each other directly. You're trying to get unity with the logic of problem solving.
Yes, sir.
That's where the focus should always be.
Right.
We think that we should have some type of mystery unity. No, unity comes from people looking at the same thing and seeing the same thing the way that it really is.
Yes, sir.
And so you unite with the truth. And since everybody who is looking for the truth, they will find the same truth. So you're united with the truth, and the truth will unite the people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the formula.
That's the formula.
You don't look at each other. You look at what the truth is about anything.
Yes, sir.
Find the truth. Get away from falsehood. You don't want to be false about nothing. You don't want to be incorrect about anything or make an incorrect assessment, judgment about anything.
Yes, sir. Mr. Fuller has indicated, listeners, that the answer to Brother Jay's question is in the book. I just picked the book up. He indicated the page, which is page 49, and he said that there are 10 stops in there. And I looked at them. Stop snitching, stop name-calling, stop cursing, stop gossiping, stop being discourteous, stop stealing, stop robbing, stop fighting, stop killing, stop squabbling. It's imperative that you get the book and then you read it. And then all this other nonsense is stopped. And you can get the book by going to producejustice.com. Producejustice.com. All the information, the code and everything is right there. And then you can address whatever the issues might be. All righty, let's go to line number 3. What is your question for Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr.?
Yes, my question was, with this compensatory code system, is the reason that Mr. Fuller says we have to replace the system of white supremacy with a system of justice, because if we just ended white supremacy, if white people were no longer existed, let's say the day came where that happened, would the system still go on, but lighter-skinned people would take their place, and we'd still have the same system of injustice based on color?
Mr. Fuller?
No, if you see the whole purpose, that's what I mean by thinking universally, of thinking about what everything will look like when you finish the job. not just little points along the way, 50-yard line stuff. No, goal line. That's what you look at. So you say you replace the system of white supremacy with what? With the system, capital letters now, with the system of justice. Now, justice in a compensatory definition consists of what? Two things. Guaranteeing, underline guaranteeing that no person is mistreated in any area of activity. Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated. That's number one. Number two, guaranteeing that the person who needs help the most gets the most constructive help. And that's in every area of activity.
Yes, sir.
Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Guaranteeing that the person gets the most constructive help in all of those areas of activity, and underline that word constructive. All of the work, everything that you do in any of these areas of activity has to have a constructive result. Otherwise, you throw it out.
Yes, sir.
If it doesn't produce a constructive result, it means you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, you heard it right there. You really need to get a copy of his book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, which is simply a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or actions for victims of racism, white supremacy. Now, it is imperative, if you're going to do this, that you really get the book. It'll guide you. It'll help you understand. But if you don't buy the book and begin to read it, then you will not really understand. As he says at the beginning of every program, he simply says, could you quote that, Mr. Fuller, verbally, what you said at the beginning of the book and at the beginning of the program, if you don't understand racism?
If you do not understand white supremacy,
mm-hmm.
what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you.
Just as simple as that. This is why you buy the book, so that you can get an understanding. Let's go to the phone lines. Line number 1. Okay, you're now on with Mr. Fuller. And please cut your radios down, please.
Okay, the law enforcement or a race soldier, they pull you over, and you're captured, so you act accordingly. But if a racist woman, if she steps to you and says sex for benefits, being that we're already captured, do we go ahead and have sex for the benefits?
Wow, Mr. Fuller.
What was that question now? If the racist woman
steps to you and says, sex, she wants sex for benefits, and she'll give you benefits, since we're already captured in the system of white supremacy, do we go ahead and, have sex and get the benefits?
No, you're not. No, a racist woman, you're not supposed to have sex with any racist, period. A person you suspect is a racist, and any white person who is able to be a racist probably is one. So particularly under the system of white supremacy, the white person is presumably a prison master. So the prisoner is not supposed to have sexual intercourse with the prison master. That's not making things better. It might make both people feel better emotionally and all like that, like sexual intercourse sometimes does, most of the time does. But under these conditions, it doesn't work.
Okay.
It hasn't shown that it works. So you say, I would rather not do that. Now, if you're going to force me to do it, that's something else. But particularly a female is going to have great difficulty forcing a male who doesn't want to have sexual intercourse to have sexual intercourse. because there's a physical thing there that's got to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
TalkTimeAtRadio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on WCRS-FM 98.3 Wednesday and Sunday evenings. Blogs and podcasts are available. Download the TalkTimeAtRadio.com app to your cell or tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. TalkTimeAtRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTimeAtRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. If you have any questions, you can call in at 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. And I will put your question in the question rotation. And don't forget, after my show, I'm telling you, she's here. She's ready. She's ready. Miss Julia Lynn Walker on Crossing Cultures is here and ready to do it at 11. So you make sure that you call in. Listen, Mr. Fuller indicated on page 49 of the code book, which you should have, that is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, the 10 don'ts. Don't snitch, name call, cursing, gossip. Don't be discourteous. Don't steal. Don't rob. Don't fight. Don't kill, and don't squabble. Man, that is tremendous. I can feel a spiritual application, with that one. But anyway, those are the don'ts. See, when you ask these questions, if you read the book, then you would know what to do. But if you don't read the book, then obviously you're going to have these questions. So you can get the book by going to by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com, and what will come up on the screen is all the information you need to get this book. And you need to get this book. And also there's a word guide for an additional fee if you're wanting to do that. Starting next week, June the 1st, we're going to have a 2-hour program from now on from 9 a.m. until 11. So make sure you tell everybody. 9 until 11 is going to be the new time. So if you call in at 10 o'clock next week, we will already have been an hour into the show. So you don't want to miss it, especially since you asked for it. Now, we haven't quite reached our donation, our goal yet. So go to PayPal to Talktainment Radio, and then click on the sponsor and follow the instructions, and then you can make your pledge. And for those who are going to send it in by mail, that is to K&E World Network, LLC, doing business as Talktainment Radio, 462 Walnut Street. Here's the important part. Post Office Box 6184, Columbus, Ohio, 43206. And they have it in red. Since you're going to get a tax deduction from that, send it to the Program Operations Manager, E. Dozier, at TalkTimeAtRadio.com. Very important that you do that, your email, so that we can get that receipt out to you. Let's go to the phone lines. Line number, what is that? Line number 2. Okay, you're front and center. Go ahead. What is your question for Mr. Neely Fuller Jr.?
Hey, thanks. 2 questions, if I might.
You have to be really quick. Go ahead.
Okay, I will. Okay, question 1, Mr. Fuller. Should victims of racism be debating with one another over the content of the compensatory code?
No. You don't debate with each other. You give your opinion. That's the difference. You can give your opinion to someone or your ideas about how to go about solving a problem. Just give your opinion. Everybody's opinion is equal because no one has solved the race problem. No one, white or non-white, has ever solved the race problem. So therefore, there are no so-called gurus. Neely Fuller is not one. I just give opinions. My book says I'm making suggestions. That's all you do in these ingenuity rooms or on the internet or whatever. You just give your opinion. Everybody's opinion is equal. Nobody's opinion is any better than anybody else's because no one has solved the race problem. So it shouldn't be any squabble at all. And definitely shouldn't escalate to the point where you violate the code by name calling and being discourteous. You don't ever do that.
Or any
That's
of those
a total
10
violation.
things.
You always look for the truth about what you're talking about. And whatever the person says, you say, well, you're entitled to your opinion, and I thank you for your opinion. That's the way the discussion should always, even during the discussion, you keep saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate your opinion.
Okay.
Sir or ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
And, now I will give my opinion if you will allow me to do so. And the person says, well, yes, go ahead and give your opinion.
Okay.
That's what we're doing right here on this program. I call it exchanges of views. That's all we're really doing. We're not really dictating anything. None of us know enough to solve the problem. And the evidence shows what? The problem isn't solved.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only when you have actually solved the problem that you can start dictating to someone else. But then it wouldn't be any point in dictating to someone else because you've already solved the problem.
Absolutely.
So, it takes care of itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's the compensatory method.
Yes, sir. All right, your second question, sir.
Yeah, thanks. At one point, Mr. Fuller, I thought I had heard or read you mention that black people shouldn't tolerate any white people's questioning of the morals of black people. Is that in the code book or the word guide, or am I making that up?
That white people shouldn't do what now?
Question the morals of
morals?
Black morals, yes, sir.
morals?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, you can question everything, but when all questions have answers, see, everything in the universe is about questions and answers. All problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. So if a white person starts talking about black people's morals, first thing you want to know is what? You go into the question mode. You ask a question about the question. And what did the question consist of? You want to get this understanding.
Mm-hmm.
What is a moral? Say, you're questioning my morals, sir or ma'am. Okay. What is the moral? Is white supremacy a moral? I mean, what are we talking about here? Exactly what is a moral in the system of white supremacy? Because the code position is there's no such thing as morality in the system of white supremacy. None of us are moral people. You can't achieve morality or what you might call correct behavior in the system of white supremacy. It's not going to happen. Everybody's behavior is flawed in a flawed system. Everybody, without exception. You can't get anything out of that other than what is the dominant force in what you're talking about. The dominant force is mistreating people and not giving people the help that they need. And otherwise, you don't have justice in the system of white supremacy. So therefore, there is no morality, period.
Period. Okay. Let's see. Let's do this. TalkTameRadio.com. We go where you go. You can download the TalkTameRadio.com app to your cell or tablet. That's radio, the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. He's here to address your questions or concerns, and you can call in if you would like by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. Mr. Fuller, Jason, I'm not going to give his last name, said this. So, Mr. Fuller, why do you describe non-white people as, quote, prisoners of war, end of quote, when we have such easy access to weaponry?
Oh, we have easy access to weaponry where we have access where we can use it against each other. The white supremacists, that's a part of their package. They say, hey, I'm going to give all you black people guns, to run around in your own little circle, what you call your ghetto or the hood, and just slaughter each other. I'll let you do that. But don't you ever think that you, on a significant scale, you'll do a little bit of it, and I'll let you get away with a little bit of it. You start working outside of that, and you're going to wonder what fell on you. You're going to find out what hell on earth is, because the same people that give you the guns, they know all about guns. They know everything that there is to know about a gun. Why? Because they gave you the gun that you so worship when you go around killing other people that look like you. And you think that that's big time. We have a lot of us thinking that all over the world. That's why we have these so-called civil wars in Congo, Somalia, anywhere you find dark-skinned people. I'm trying to get a gun so I can go down and kill my neighbor. And then what I have after I do that is just a whole bunch of dead bodies lying all over the village in the dust, and nothing changes.
Nothing changes.
I still got to go and beg somebody, and who is that somebody? Big Daddy and Big Mama, and they always white. Bring me some food, bring me some shelter, bring me some medicine, because all I know what to do is just go around killing my neighbors. And we do that all over the world. We need to wake up and smell the coffee.
Alrighty. Mr. Fuller and Mr. Bobby are not compensated by the donations made to the compensatory concept, so don't get it twisted. We get no monies from that. But you can still donate by mailing in your contributions to the K&E World Network, LLC, doing business at Talktainment Radio, 462 Walnut Street. Mailing address is Post Office Box 6184, Columbus, Ohio, 43206. And please make sure that you add your email address to it so you can get your tax-deductible receipt. And don't forget, next week on June the 1st starts our 2-hour program for the compensatory concept. And you can go to talktainmentradio.com, click on the sponsor, and follow the instructions to make your pledge, because we still need your donations to make this baby work. All righty. Mr. Fuller, let's see here. Who is this that's writing me? Okay, I guess it's Big Mont. The Big Mont says, good morning, Mr. Fuller. I hear some people say get out of the country if you can. They're trying to exterminate us. Unless it's a spaceship or casket, I don't think we can get away. I try to repeat your message as best I can, but it's like we can't seem to get past our own nose when it comes to the depth of things that the white supremacists do. But when it comes to each other, black people, we are so clear. My question is, how do I get them past the denial of the source of everyone's problem and the depth of it? Telling them the truth is not working. You've been doing it for a long time, and we still ask the same questions over and over again.
All you do, here again, I'm going to say it again, all problems are solved by the process of what?
Questions.
Questions and answers. So rather than tell a person what your opinion is, if they don't want to listen to your opinion or your suggestion, ask the person, okay, I'll stop telling you. I'll have you tell me or answer my question. And you said something about going somewhere. Okay, it's not where you're leaving, it's where you're going when you do leave. And that applies to anybody. That applies to somebody. I mean, when you're leaving the house, it's not so much you leaving the house. Where are you going when you leave the house?
Yes, sir.
And answer to another question. What are you going to do when you get there, wherever you're going? I started off this program talking about people who are saying, I got to get out of Somalia. I got to get out of the place where I'm, supposed to be my home, but I can't stay in it no more. This place is one of the worst places on earth. I got to get out of here. Get out of there and go where?
Go where?
Go where? And what are you going to do
when you get
where you're going? See what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's the same way. Black people are always talking about, I got to get out of here. Mm-hmm. We need to get out of here. We need to go somewhere. Okay.
Where we going?
Go where? And what are you going to do when you get where you're going? There's a lot of people who have taken off across the world, going to places, and what happens? Let's look at this now. They pass by people who say, where are you going? And you say, I'm trying to get to the place where you just came from. And then that person says, man, you don't want to go where I came from. I mean, I'm trying to get to the place that you just left. So here you have black people passing each other on the same road, trying to find each other, and neither one of them is going to find paradise.
No.
Because that's what they're looking for.
Yes, sir.
See, when you leave one place going to another, you're really looking for a better position.
Yes, you are.
All right? But both of these people are finding out, and it seems like they would catch on to that by now. Hey, the place that you were just leaving, a place that you just left, is the place I'm trying to go to. And then the person is looking at you in amazement saying, why in the world would you be trying to go to where I just came from when I'm trying to go to the place that you just came from? So this is what black people do all over the world.
Yes, sir.
And they are doing it by the millions, even as we speak right now.
It's
the craziest thing, and the white supremacists are sitting back laughing at all of us.
Laughing. Okay, got a comment from Daryl, and Daryl, I appreciate your comment. He says, thanks for the program. He says, 2 requests. Please ask the callers to formulate specific and abbreviated questions before getting on the air. So please, caller, Daryl is saying that, and then he wants me to interpret the email questions in a way. Now, Daryl, I try not to do that because I like for people to have their own words, but your suggestion is right. When you're going to write in, or even if you're going to call in, please try and make your questions short and concise so that we can get the questions out. Mr. Fuller got a question from Renzo. He says, can you give us a very clear example of justice you created in the area of economics?
There are no examples. There are no examples. Economics is what? First of all, get the definitions. Compensatory definition, one that I made up. Economics is the use of time and energy. So, all time and all energy used by the victims of racism are used to support racism. Why? Because we're prisoners of war. What we're trying to do is dismantle that entire system. So our time and energy, when we are on the internet or in the Ingenuity rooms, we're supposed to be doing what? Talking about ways and means of changing that system. Asking questions and coming up with answers of how to change the system of white supremacy into the system of justice. Get rid of the system of white supremacy and bring in the system of justice, which means guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Just those 2 things. And then we evolve into eventually what we call universal man, universal woman, which means people who always do the most constructive thing. That's all it is. Figure out how to do the most constructive thing each and every minute of each and every day. You don't have any such people nowhere on the planet. These people have to be produced. And presumably, the people who should evolve into those type of people should be the people who have seen the most oppression, which would mean the black people of the planet, the non-white people of the planet.
Yes, sir. Okay, Mr. Fuller, Desmond, and I'm not going to mention his last name, I think a couple of shows ago somebody mentioned about your work and getting it on ebooks, and Desmond wrote in, I'm not familiar with the concept of the ebooks, but anyway, he wrote in and said this. He said, the problem with the ebook is it is easily duplicated, the potential to rip off Mr. Fuller, but distributing duplicated copies would take away his revenue stream. If Mr. Fuller isn't concerned with being ripped off, then it's okay, but it's not a productive solution for earning money. If earning money is a factor. Again, I don't know anything about ebooks, but he was just saying that he thinks that, according to his knowledge, that it would not be a way for you to get your work out. I think you do a good job in doing your work as it is. You have any comment on that before we go to our next caller, or rather our next email?
The caller?
No, email. He was just saying that he didn't think that using the ebook would be a good idea because it can be easily duplicated and people would rip you off.
Yes, that is something that I had considered myself, but then that would cut off the revenue where I wouldn't be able to sustain what I'm doing. And then, as always, I have to constantly fight this, and that is that possibility, and it's coming one way or another. The white supremacists, if what I'm doing becomes effective, they don't pay any attention to anything that I'm doing as long as it's not effective.
Exactly.
Yes. If it ever begins to show some promise of becoming effective, they have dozens of ways to interrupt and distort and completely dissolve what I'm doing. And that's just one of those unfortunate situations. But if I can get out the word, fast enough in the form that I'm taking it now, in something where I have some control, because at some point the white supremacists will dip their toe into the water and they will say, hey, that's enough of that Neely full of foolishness and that compensatory nonsense.
Yes.
But it may give us some trouble down the line, and it may be bad for our business, so we better nip it in the bud right now. And we can do this by skewing the message.
Yes.
In other words, mix the message all up with a whole bunch of stuff that we're doing so that people cannot even recognize what it is.
I'm telling you, I'm feeling that on this end also, Mr. Fuller, as you are on your end. Alt1 says, Mr. Fuller, greetings, Mr. Bobby and Mr. Fuller. I wanted to ask Mr. Fuller, was he in the new Hidden Colors #4 movie? Because the movie subtitle is called The Religion of White Supremacy, a phrase I first heard only him use, him being you, Mr. Fuller.
Yes, but I'm not familiar with the Hidden Colors. I mean, I guess that's why it's hidden. I'm not familiar with that. I don't know anything about what's going on there. See, I mean, so maybe they can explain what it is they're doing and who's doing it and in what context and whatnot. People should explain themselves.
Stand by your work.
I explain myself. I identify myself. I always stand by my work. If I make mistakes, I say, hey, Neely Fuller make this mistake, because I do make mistakes.
Yes.
And sometimes I make big ones, but I try to avoid all mistakes. And I advise everybody else, try to minimize any mistakes that you make. Try to eliminate all of them. But certainly, anything that you do, identify yourself so people will know who's doing what.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, the white supremacists, they love mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime they see anything mysterious going on, they know how to get right in on it themselves.
They certainly do.
They are masters of mystery.
Masters. All right, we're in the stretch run, almost to the pole at the end of our, coming to the end of our program, but we do have one more question. This comes from Tanya. She says, tell Mr. Fuller that I was packing my bags when a white stranger walked up and said, good morning. Should I suspect that he could be up to no good?
Well, you should always suspect, in a system of racism, you suspect that any white person may be a racist. So that just goes with the territory. We are prisoners of war. You're in a prison. So anytime anybody who you identify as a potential prison master may be getting ready to harm you, but you always be courteous. If a person shows courtesy to you, you show courtesy to them. And even if they don't show courtesy to you, you show courtesy to them. That is something that we should adopt as ironclad. Always be courteous. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Regardless of how the person is acting.
Yes. All right. Well, when you hear the music, you know what that means. That means it's the end of the program and time for Crossing Cultures. Anyway, TalkTainmentRadio.com, the